Hello, everyone. Okay.
Hey.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Hey,
Okay.
Jim, Larry.
Yes.
Hey, Angelin. What? I like your backdrop.
That's Lynn.
I like palm trees.
Angelin.
Good
Hi.
morning, Dave. Siri, good morning. Barbara, are you
Good.
there?
I'm here.
Okay, there's another Barbara. Okay. All right. All right, are we, let's see.
Speaker.
I've got more
Jonas,
people.
welcome.
Hello, greetings. Good morning, everyone.
We have just a few things to do before we turn it over to you.
Sure, not a problem.
Okay. We only have 40 minutes. And I hope, oh, rats. I hope more people will join us. There's Dee and Glenda.
Yeah.
There's our avatar. Dee, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I just see your avatar. So I'm going to assume that we're all glad to be out of our pajamas and clothes where people can see us. This is, well, actually, I think, Angelin, you've been working, right?
Yes. Still active. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're an essential worker. Anybody else
Jonas.
working? Larry?
Well, we've been working from home.
Out in the world? Everybody?
Am I the only one out in the world?
Who else is out in the world?
Not me. I haven't been anywhere in 3 weeks.
The only one?
Hey, no, me. Wait, how did I do it?
Well, all right, then let me just, oh, Dave is still trying to get his microphone set up. Let me just welcome you all. We only have 40 minutes, so we got to hot-footed through our business agenda to give Jonas a little more time. I just want to tell you that Dutch, our president of Vice, has been really, really sick. They thought he had corona, but it turns out he had the flu. They gave him the test and scared everybody half to death. Barbara, would you like to, I mailed a treasurer's, I mailed a little brief secretary's report. Since these are all being done, things are not normal.
Yeah.
Barbara, can you give us a treasurer's report, and then I'll make sure this gets.
Whoops. Yeah. Yeah, I can.
Okay.
We received, we had the closing balance last month of $1,709.51. We received from PayPal dues for 2 people. That's $46, and then royalties for $3.78, which gives us $1759.29. And I still have the 2 checks because I was under kind of a lockdown because my son was traveling cross country and came to visit me. So I haven't had a chance to go to the bank. So I still have those other 2 that have not been deposited from last meeting.
Okay. I want you all to notice how, Barbara, could you repeat how much we have in royalties?
That was $3.78 that came in from Cheryl.
We need to do a little better with Malice, with Mayhem in Memphis. I wish you all who have websites and Twitter accounts and Facebook accounts would start posting about it. If you need some publicity material. Lynn has some and has sent it out, but you can get more. I'm sure you'll be willing to send it out again. So we really need to pump that up. All right, let's see, committee reports. Lynn, do you have anything from our communications people?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. I know Lynn has been putting up some things on our Facebook page, and truly use that. We do get a lot of traffic there. Everybody has received copies of the bylaws.
No.
No? Who said no? Raise your hand. Or everybody, has everybody seen the bylaws? I mailed them out. Dave, can you hear now? Dave, can you hear?
Well, I have unmuted everyone's microphone, so he should be able to speak.
Okay. So I mailed out the bylaws. I will mail them out again. I mailed them out as corrected. I received one set of corrections from Jim, and I think I took care of all those problems. I don't want to vote on them here, but I wanted to ask if someone had any suggestions, if you've read them, if you are comfortable with them. Anybody? Okay. Then I will mail them out again to make sure, and then we will move on. We will have a vote next time. I hope in May we will be back together. But I don't know. What is your guess, Angela?
Who knows? Things are going to get worse before they get better. So who knows?
I thought they already got worse.
No, no.
No.
It'll be worse before
It
it's
will
always
be
better.
worse.
Yeah.
Well, I wish I hadn't even asked.
Sorry.
Realism is not my thing. So, all right. I'm going to turn this over to Jonas in just a few minutes, but next month, what we intend to do, whatever you're doing is messing up there.
I'm going in and correcting it. D, every time you touch it, I'm going to undo it. So don't touch it again.
Because otherwise, everybody disappears from everybody's screen. All right, next month, what we had planned to do was to have, to talk about critique groups and talk about critiquing and have people submit things that they wanted to critique, like maybe a couple of paragraphs or no more than 150 words, 200 words, just to get us used to how to do it. I know Barbara and Jim and some others have been in critique groups, long-time critique groups, but there are others who might benefit, and actually even long-time groups can help out. This will be kind of a free-spirited thing, which I'll moderate or Dutch can moderate. And we will just spend some time talking about our work and how to make it better, how to sell it. I've noticed on book, I don't know about the rest of you, I put a novella up and nothing's happening. And I've heard other writers say nothing's happening. So before we actually turn it over to Jonas, let's go around and tell what's going on in our lives. Just a few words. Barbara, you want to start?
Nothing's going on. I've been home for 3 weeks. My son came through moving to Texas and spent time with me. With him going cross country, I decided it was best I stayed in. I didn't want to infect anybody if he caught something on the way through. So,
okay, well, that was
other than dealing with that and his 2 dogs.
Dave, I can't hear you.
His microphone is not working.
Can you at least give us a thumbs up if everything's okay? Oh,
Yeah, everything's okay.
message. Everything is okay. Lynn, what's going on in your life then?
Just work. just work and just told my kid to go stay somewhere else because he cannot do social distancing. So I'm following Angelin's rule. My rules, you out. And so he's out.
Well, Belinda says she's been working in the world, and Dave says he's been working on statistics. Can everyone see the chat that's up in the corner?
Yeah.
If you
Yes.
can, then you can see what everybody's saying. Dave, you've been working on statistics, COVID statistics? That sounds grim. Okay. Jim, what are you doing? Prediction.
We've just been hunkering down. We attempted to set up our critique group by Zoom. It turns out that 3 of our members can't Zoom. So we have tried several times, and we have now punted, and we'll think about maybe doing a conference call, but we haven't done anything beyond that.
Have you considered Skype, Jim?
Didn't
Is
try
Skype-
Skype. I didn't.
Because Skype might be a little bit easier for the less technically savvy.
Well,
And it might be easier to, and since your group is small, that might be an alternative too.
okay. One of the issues is that Pat has discovered after 3 consulting visits from her guru that she has neither volume nor video,
Oh, okay.
and that kind of squashes all that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Does she have an iPad or an iPhone?
I don't think she has an iPhone. Barbara, she have a flip phone?
I don't think she has either.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Doesn't.
I was going to say Facebook video. It's not Facebook Live. You can also video chat on Facebook too. That might be another possibility.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Siri, did I pronounce your name right? Sarah?
Sri, yes. Hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good
What are you
morning.
doing
Yeah.
besides bring down?
Oh, well, I'm working from home. I'm a radiologist, so I can afford to do that. Not every doctor can.
Yeah.
But things are bad out there. We just passed 500,000 cases yesterday in the U.S. We're, in Tennessee, we're still don't have the surge. The hospitals still have capacity. The interesting thing is, I don't know if any of you have been reading that, is the routine, heart attacks and strokes, and they're not showing up to the hospital. Partly maybe because they're not getting them, and partly maybe because they're waiting till it's too late and then they can't be saved anyway. So
Oh.
that's kind of not good. So if you do have symptoms and you do need to go to the hospital, I guess you should go. They do have precautions in place. It's obviously not the best. They're doing the best they can. Wear a mask in public if you're going out to the grocery store. Yesterday, my wife went out to Kroger and she said about 80%, 90% of people were wearing masks.
Good.
So-
We're going to have to wrap this up for individuals,
Absolutely.
but let Jonas have his thing. Jonas, we're going to turn this over to you and mute everybody's microphone. So if the cats and dogs yell in our kitchens, you won't be disturbed.
Oh, not a problem.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you. And hello, greetings, everybody. I'm Jonas. Lynn has told me much about all of you, and it's all good things. So yes, I am glad to be here and glad to talk to you about converting your novels and your books into audiobooks. So this is something that I do a lot of, well, in a sort of way. There are 3 things that I would like to let you know, that there are 3 kind of audio type pieces that you can actually find. One of which is audiobooks, which is essentially either an abridged or an unabridged version of your book that is converted into audio. Then you also have something called an audio drama, which is kind of the equivalent of like the old school radio plays. We're not going to get into that. However, I have executive produced Horror City and a number of plays that were done from the Bohemian Grove that I converted into audio dramas. So, and then the third thing, of course, are podcasts. Podcasts are more real life, people talking, not necessarily scripted or written ahead of time. So those are the three main things that are out there at this point that a lot of people are listening to. So why audiobooks? Well, you've already written the novel or the book, so the hard work is already done. The difficult part, that's over. So your story is set, and now you're trying to find your various avenues of distribution. And of course, this is releasing it as your book, as an ebook, and now as an audiobook. So I have a couple of little stats just to give you an idea of how popular and how big the audiobook industry actually is. Publisher receipts in 2018 totaled almost $1 billion. That's a lot of money for just the audiobook industry. It is on the rise. Right now, according to Triton Digital's The Infinite Dial 2019, shows that 50% of Americans aged 12 or older have listened to an audiobook. So we're looking at 50% of people, of Americans, are actually listening to audiobooks. In 2018, there were 44,685 audiobooks created. Let's see, what else? 74% of the audiobook consumers listen in their car. So if you think about your drive to and from work, sometimes you have a 30-minute, a 40-minute drive. It's the perfect time for people to listen to audiobooks and listen to other forms of media other than just the radio or other types of music. And people are doing that. A lot of people are doing that. So let's see, smart speakers. There are a lot of people that now have smart speakers in their home that can connect directly to things like their tablets, to their phones, and to other devices like Alexa and those types of devices. And then 95% of libraries now have digital collections of audiobooks available to people coming into the libraries. So this is a really big, big market that a lot of people are utilizing and taking advantage of. So I would like to say, I'm trying to kind of shorten this down because I know we don't have as much time and I really want to get to the meat and potatoes of it. So I'm trying to skim over. I had a much longer list of things I wanted to discuss. But a couple things. Books that are good and not good to make into audiobooks. Books that are not good, reference books, comic books, home and garden, interior design books, cookbooks. These things are just not good to convert into an audiobook. They just do not translate well. However, books that do make excellent audiobooks are things like history, biography, mysteries, thrillers, science fiction, fantasy, romance, business. All those types of books make extremely good books that could be converted into an audiobook. And I know that most of you are writing the fantasy, what am I thinking of? The mystery thrillers and all that. It's part of what this whole group is about. So you're right in there. You have a definite market on this. There are two different options when coming to actually creating an audiobook. One is self-creation. This is going to be the cheapest version, and it's also going to be probably the most difficult version for you to do. It's an excellent opportunity if you want to have an inexpensive version and to do this at your pace and at your decision. The things you need to know about this is you need to have the right equipment and the right setting to record this, which means you want to have a setting that doesn't have any exterior noise, like pets or cars or vehicles or next door neighbors that may be playing music, things like that. You also need to be familiar with the necessary specifications that the distribution methods are going to be needing. You're also going to need to know how to edit the files, master the final files, reduce your noise, proper tagging and identification, and all of these sorts of things. And then you also have to think about the time required to create this. Someone who is not a voice actor could expect to spend hours upon hours upon hours recording. You may be able to get up to about 8,000 words spoken in an hour, but novice readers will often need to go back and re-record many of their sections, meaning there's going to be a lot of editing time and a lot of recording time. So while you can do this at almost no cost to you, there is a lot of work that goes and is involved with that. Then you have the paid production, which I'm assuming the majority of you would be looking into, because this is going to be the easiest way for you to be able to get your book put together into an audiobook format. Now, this is going to cost some money, yes, but you're guaranteed results, especially if you used recommended and very highly trained talent for this. You can also then pick the voice, the sound, the style of who's going to be recording this. Now, you can go through a dedicated agency, and there are several of them out there, and you could do a Google search for them that specialize in creating audiobooks. Or you can use a digital marketplace to find your talent, such as ACX or Mandy. ACX is going to be the place that I'm going to be talking about in just a few moments, because this is the one that I recommend. I have no affiliation with, but I will be talking about ACX as the means of creating, getting the contracts, releasing, distributing, all of that, because they're an all-in-one type source that you can use that will make it so much easier. Something you need to remember, always remember, is audiobooks require a certain level of quality. You want to have like the highest quality available, meaning no background noise, no hissing, no popping of sounds, the plosives when you hear the p, p sound. You don't want to have any of that. You want to have a consistency in volume. You want to have all these things in place when you release an audiobook. Now, because I know some of you are kind of wondering, a good general rule of thumb is that a high quality audiobook can generally be recorded at the rate of about $200 to $250 per 10,000 words. Now, there's going to be some other things that are going to come into play depending on the talent and the editors and the other people that you choose. But this is kind of a good roundabout figure to just give you an idea about how much it's going to be costing. All right, let's see. Oh, and then one other little thing is, when you do this, you're going to have to talk to your graphic designer that created your book title, or if it was you, because you are going to need to create a new version of your cover that is a square format, because this is what is going to be used on the WAV and MP3 files. It's going to be a square format, so your book is going to you want to convert it to a square format. And that's just real simple, just maybe rearranging, reworking some things. When you, let's say, play a song and you're playing it on your phone, and you see like little, the artist, the record label thing, it's going to be the same thing as that. It's going to be a square format. Okay, I'm trying to rush through this so I can get it done in time. The service that I highly, highly recommend is ACX, and you can find them at acx.com. This is a service that will get your contracts, will allow you to find your talent, and will also distribute your audiobook on audible.com, amazon.com, and iTunes. Those are the three biggest sources for audiobooks at this time. If you're going to want to release, this is the best way to do it. With ACX, you are able to go with either a non-exclusive or an exclusive deal for distribution. If you go with the non-exclusive, your rates are going to be a little bit lower. They're going to be about 15% lower, but you'd be able to distribute to services such as Overdrive. Overdrive is a service that will distribute to libraries primarily. So if you want to get your books into the libraries, this is a really good opportunity for you to do that. Audiobooks.com is another source that has a lot of books that ACX does not directly distribute to. And they're an excellent place to just distribute your works at. And then you have Downpour, which is another an audiobook distribution location. So if you do the non-exclusive, you can go to places other than those big top three. That is entirely up to you which one you choose. So the process, this is how you create an audiobook using the ACX website and the ACX service. The first thing you need to do is you need to confirm your audiobook rights. you have to look at, let's say, if you have signed a contract with a publisher or you've signed a contract with another lawyer or something like that, you need to make sure that you have the audio rights for your novel, for your book, for whatever you want to convert. And it's going to say specifically, and if you don't know, just inquire with whoever you've worked with your publisher or with whoever may be out there about finding out, do you have those rights? So you need to confirm that. That's the first thing. And now, if you independently publish your book, you pretty much retain the rights to that audiobook. They are yours. But if you did work with an agent or publisher to produce your book, check the contract that you signed and make sure that there isn't anything that would prevent you from doing this without their approval or somebody else's approval. It will state specifically whether or not you have the digital audio rights for your book. Second thing you need to do is you need to create a profile on acx.com. And then you will also create a title profile for the book that you want to have converted into an audio book. This is describing your book and the type of narrator that is going to be best suited for this book. You're going to create an audition script. An audition script is a 2 to 3 pages from your fully edited manuscript. It should be like passages or sections that you really want to hear the narrators read out loud and hear how they're going to present that content. This is going to be the material that the producers and the narrators are going to use to create you an audition reel, pretty much. So you'll then have like these auditions that will come in. The finished auditions from that 2 to 3 minutes will be approximately 3 to 5 minutes in length, so you can have a good opportunity to hear what they sound like and find out, is this person or are these people the ones that are right for me? So do not ever sign a contract for an audiobook without listening to these individuals read aloud some of your work. Don't go based upon some generic audio that they're reading. Have them speak your words so you can hear how they sound speaking your novel. Third thing, you're going to want to find producers. So you're going to post your book so producers can audition. You want these producers to be able to audition and create that the audio from that audio script. So let's see. You can either listen to sample narrations. You can invite some of the narrators that are currently on that website to maybe put something in and to audition for it, or people may just audition on their own when they find it. Now remember, every novel has a voice. Your novel has a very, very specific voice, and the only person that can select the voice that you've heard in your head as you are writing this is you. So you're going to be the one that's going to be able to determine, is this voice the right voice for me? A couple things to think about. Do you want a male or a female voice? That's going to be very important, because if you have a very male-oriented script that's done by a female, it may sound awkward. You're going to want to decide male or female. First things first. You're going to want to address the tone of the narrator, the color of their voice. Is it dark or warm sounding? How does their voice sound? Think about a singer and their sounds. You have different kinds of singers. You also have different kinds of voices. So what is the color and the tone of the voice that you're looking for? What is the vocal delivery? And by vocal delivery, I mean things like the rate, the volume, the pitch, the articulation, pronunciation, and fluency. All of these things are going to come to play. People speak differently. They have accents, they have different sounds, they have different patterns when it comes down to their speaking. So you want to listen to, how are they talking and how are they speaking and how are they reciting the words from that audition script? And then, do you want to have any accents or specialty voices? Are you seeking somebody with maybe like a French accent to recite your story? That's going to be very, very specific if that's something that you're looking for, but it's something to keep in mind. Now, step 4, Review the auditions. All of the producers will then be producing the auditions based on the scripts that you gave them, the dialogue and text and everything that you've given them. And then you're going to then listen to them to decide who you think is going to be best for the narration of this project. So you're going to be requesting these auditions, they're going to give them to you, and then from there, you are going to decide who you like. You want to hear the real narrators reading your actual words, not just a generic passage. Very, very important. Number 5, this is where it comes down to making a deal. And the ACX service has an entire system put into place to handle all of the contracts, all of the details, and all of the legal aspects that are necessary to making this happen. You can make an offer to a producer to produce your audiobook by sending the producer a production offer, by a production offer, pretty much. If they accept that offer, you have a deal, and you'll be able to start recording. Now, to guarantee a binding contract, you have to do everything on that website. You cannot be going and doing things via a telephone call or via a Skype call or any other types of things, because that will not be documented within the ACX system and will fall outside of the contracting requirements for that particular project. Then the audio producers are paid based on the length of the completed audiobook times agreed upon rate. So you're going to determine a rate that will be appropriate, and then you'll be paying that audiobook producer / narrator according to the time that is the completed audiobook time. A producer will receive payment at the end of the upload process based on the final runtime of that audiobook. And when the project is complete, the system will automatically multiply the final runtime of the audio times. So they will tell you how much you need to pay the producer.
Hey, Jonas.
Yes.
I want to interrupt you. Zoom just sent me a message and
Yes.
said that they are not limiting us to 40 minutes.
Really?
So we have unlimited time. So you can continue on, don't have to rush through it. And if anyone has questions, raise your hand, and I'm taking the questions as they go along, and then we'll be able to address them.
Yes, I've been seeing some of the questions. I'm just going through my whole thing, and we'll get to the questions. I see Jackie's talking, but she's muted.
Oh, I'll unmute her. Hold on one second.
Okay, I'm hoping that we can save questions to the last. Let's go for another 10 minutes and then ask questions. Jonas, will 10 minutes give you what you need?
Yeah, that's probably about what I had left. I was trying to keep this. Yeah,
I find this
about 10 minutes.
I find this incredibly informative because I know zero about audiobooks. So
right.
So
now,
you
hopefully
are.
I'm trying to make it somewhat easy. I'm really condensing it down and trying to. I'd like this big, giant document.
I understand this is far more complicated than it sounds. But go on and let's finish your presentation, and then we'll see what we've got left.
Okay, sure. Okay. So then you'll then be paying your producer / narrator, oftentimes the same person, at the end of the process. I saw like finger. Okay. When it comes down to this, royalties through this service are 40%. So that will then be paid for exclusive distribution projects. So if you've signed an exclusive deal with ACX, you'll then be receiving the 40%. Otherwise, I believe it is 25% if you just decide to do a non-exclusive deal, but that allows you to distribute in many other places. When entering a royalty share contract, this is going to be, sometimes some of these narrators are going to request a share of the audiobook profits. And it may be 1%, it may be some other percentage. It really is up to that particular narrator and the negotiations to set that. That 40% will then be split between you and the individual who's doing that narrating. So it's one of those, you know, are you going to be paying somebody extra beyond what they get paid, or not, it's really up to you. There's a lot of things that come into play. So 6, you're going to get started. Your producer will record the first 15 minutes of your audiobook. Nothing more, just 15 minutes. And the reason they're going to do that is they're going to allow you to listen to it and determine whether or not this is the right direction. This is where you have the opportunity to provide feedback, to make notes, and to say, this is sounding good. Or if absolutely necessary, to say, I don't think you're the right person. We need to cancel this contract and we need to move on to somebody else. And that is something that you may end up doing. But if you have feedback, if you say, you're speaking too fast, or you're speaking too slow, or I'd like you to speak a little differently, this is your opportunity to say that and to let them know and to inform them about how they are speaking and what they are speaking and how they're doing it. So you need to then approve that first 15 minutes. Once you do that 15-minute approval, it comes down to they're going to record the final project. And you sit and wait as they're doing that. It's going to take a little bit of time for them to record. I will give you some times about how long it's going to be. But in general, it takes about 6.2 hours for a producer to complete 1 hour of an audiobook. So on average, most of the talent on ACX can perform probably about 9,000 to 9,500 words per hour. This is a lot, but these are professionals who are doing this on a constant basis. Now, divide the total number of words of your book by that amount, and you can kind of find out how long your book is going to be in terms of hours. When you create a title profile, your length is automatically calculated for you based upon the word count that you provide to them. So as you're creating that, it will automatically kind of give you an estimate of how long your book is going to be and how long that audio is going to be. Now, that 6.2 hours, that average, how does it get there? Well, it takes about 2 hours to narrate what will become one finished hour. So if I was to be recording an audiobook, it'll take me about 2 hours to do about 1 hour of audio, because I'll be starting and stopping. I'll be redoing things a couple of times, and I'll be working on that. Now, after the narration is recorded, it then takes an editor who is probably or likely the same person who recorded that about 3 hours to edit each hour of recording, because you're taking all of that audio and you have to cut it down and put it into place and make sure that the timing and everything sounds correct. Then at this point, after that, they're going to need to run a quality control check to make sure that everything is sounding fluid and correct. This means time re-listening to it and suggesting words or sentences or things to re-record. And that's about 1.2 hours for every finished hour. So you're going to be listening to the final piece and you're going to be making corrections. And then they will, of course, make corrections. And you have that opportunity. You're not going to be stuck with what they give you. You have that opportunity to do 2, maybe 3 full-on audiobook corrections to what you're working with. Step 8. Here comes the fun part, distribution. Now, the distribution is through this service is going to get you to Audible, Amazon, and iTunes. As I said, they are the 3 big ones. And this will be done both under the exclusive and non-exclusive contracts that were set up. So regardless of which contract you signed, these will then be distributed to all 3 of those sites. Now, exclusive means that you cannot publish to any other place or competing platforms than what they are offering. So if you do a non-exclusive, your option, you can distribute your audiobook wherever you want. The audiobook at a minimum will be available for digital download on those 3 sites. And they're, like I said, they're the 3 main dealers in pretty much the world. So what are some of the pros and cons of the non-exclusive? The non-exclusive means you can publish in multiple places. Published audiobooks on your own website and other markets. It's a good choice if you have a large email list or a wide distribution base or a way to be able to get that distribution out yourself. The con is your your lower royalties, 25% as opposed to the 40%. So you're looking at a 15% drop in the royalties if you choose that. But as I said, you can do this on your own websites. You can sell it on your website. You can sell it in all these other markets as you feel comfortable. Then the exclusive rights, pros. The royalty shares are higher. You get the 40% versus the 25%, which is nice. You know, that's good money. And you're talking, it's being distributed to the main three. And then you can also start selling just immediately through those services. It takes maybe a couple of days just for the audiobook to be approved and all of a sudden show up onto these platforms. The cons, you're exclusive. You're exclusive to ACX and you cannot publish your book anywhere else. So that's pretty much that part of it. Now, of course, who owns the rights to the finished audiobook? The current rights holder maintains the rights to their audiobook. And then depending on the contract selected, the distribution rights of the audiobook may vary. So you have to kind of really look at what the contract that you're getting into is going to say. Because if you do give a small percentage to that producer / narrator, you're going to then be pretty much giving up a small portion of your book to somebody else. But you're still going to be holding the rights. Step 9, promotion. This is where you come into play and you need to promote your book everywhere and anywhere you can. You're already doing this with your own books, with your own novels, with your own compilations, with everything that you're doing. This is now just another means of communicating to the people who are listening and watching and following you and, you know, and that are being involved with you. Then, of course, step 10, you start earning your royalties. You start making a little bit of money. Through ACX, you receive a monthly digital royalty statement available from these various websites. So you'll then be getting money based upon the sales through those 3 main distribution methods. You're going to have to, of course, provide Audible and some of these others, things like your taxpayer identification number if you're from the US, or your social security, things like that to allow you to pretty much get paid. It's like any other service that's going to pay you because it's going to be income. Let's see. A statement of royalties and will be delivered by direct deposit or a check if you are in the United States, of course. And then payments to narrators or studio professionals in a pay-for-production deal comes from the rights holder, which would be you. So if you are then pretty much agree to a 1% royalty to an individual, you will then be paying them directly. They will not be that will not be handled directly through this service. You have to handle them separately. So with ACX, they choose for you based on the runtime of your audiobooks how much the book will be available for. So if it's under 1 hour, let's say a short story or a short novella that isn't very long, $3.95 to about $7. 1 to 3 hours is going to be about $7 to $10. 3 to 5 hours, $10 to $20. 5 to 10 hours, $15 to $25, and the prices go up the longer you get. You have to think about how long your book is going to be, whether or not you're going to be doing an abridged or unabridged version of your book. Both of them are going to, modify the length of your audiobook final time. And if you think about, on average, 9,500 words is about 1 hour, you're going to be looking at, maybe a good 5-hour read. So let's see, 60,000 words makes a novel. So, okay, yeah, you're looking about the 5 to 10 hour mark maybe. So you're going to have to do all the work to promote this audiobook, just like you do your book as it is. You'll be into the marketplaces. You will be put onto pretty much the digital store shelves, but you're going to need to go out there and promote it just like you do your own books and your own works to get that material out there. But the great thing about this is there are far, far, far fewer audiobooks on the market than there are Kindle ebooks or traditional books out in the market. So this is a great opportunity for people to really just take advantage of this and put the work out there. It's going to take some time. It's going to take a little bit of money, but you can do this and you can make it happen. So this is where I would like to open up the floor to the questions and to discuss this a little bit further. I just want to kind of give you a rundown of how to make this happen. And I will be glad to speak with any of you outside of this meeting. I will give you my email address and make that available so you can contact me. And I'll be glad to go ahead and help you through and step you through some of this if you really need some assistance and would like some help. So,
okay, so I'm going to unmute everyone's lines. If it's a free-for-all, if everyone starts speaking over each other, I'll start muting everyone, and then you can raise your hand like this, and then I'll unmute you. So I'm unmuting all, and I know that there are several questions that came through. So you're unmuted. Go ahead and someone fire away a question at Jonas.
Well, there's several questions that have been submitted. Jonas, can perhaps you go through those questions first, then?
Yeah, one of the ones that came through was the best way to attract narrators on ACX.
They are going to find you because these are individuals who are actually looking for work. They're looking to do this because this is their bread and butter. So you post a project that appeals to them, they will find you. And I can assure you that there are people that are going through all the new projects on a daily basis that are going to find your piece, and they're going to submit the auditions for you. You can also, as I said earlier, you can also listen to a list of the pre-recorded demos that they have available. You can actually search for individuals that, let's say, mystery. And you can kind of find people that are actually have done work within the mystery genre, and you can then listen to them, and you can then submit pretty much a request for them to audition for your project. But people will find you.
I have a question. When you, within the ACX system,
Yes.
If you have a narrator in mind, can you use that narrator that you already know?
I believe you can, yes. I believe, yes.
So if you want, so if you have Tallulah Bankhead wanting to, you want her to, and she's not listed as a narrator, can she then do it for you? Of course, she would have to be risen from the grave, but.
You could, they would need to then just simply sign up and become listed as a narrator on that website. And you'd then be able to, because of the contracting, because of all those types of deals, they would just simply need to go in there, and it's not going to cost them anything or require anything of them other than to sign up on that website and say that they are a narrator and would like to participate in doing the audiobooks. So yes, they could. It's just they need to sign up. You'll need to sign up and then utilize that as the middleman to manage all the contracts and all the distribution elements.
Second question.
Yes.
I submitted this. I am so interested in this. How about, you mentioned radio play. Does do a radio play using ACX?
I would say no. Radio plays often require a number of different people that are recording all at the same time. I have set up a studio here in my house where I have a 5 microphone pretty much set up to do podcasts and audio dramas, radio plays, things like that. And one of the ones I did produce was called Horror City, and we did 2 seasons of that. And that was very, very high-end production. We're talking a lot of sound effects, a lot of real current modern type things. It's like creating a film for audio purposes. So I would recommend that you would find the audio. There's other sources if you want to hire people and to get people to do that sort of thing. And that's a completely different beast altogether.
Oh, okay.
That is a completely different beast altogether. And I could start talking for about 30 minutes about how to create that. The best way to do it would be if you're going to be to do that almost on your own, or to find somebody such as myself that actually has the studio for it. and then bring the people in to perform and to act. And I work with a number of different voice actors here in town that I have, done some things with. It's a different beast. But yes, it can be done, and I can definitely talk to you offline about that so we don't take up too much time. But yes,
I just think it's
awesome.
really interesting. I am of a certain age where I actually remember radio dramas.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember the Lone Ranger.
Yes.
And sitting with my knees crossed, listening to the Lone Ranger and going, "Oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
the bad guy's coming! I hear the hoofbeats."
Believe it or not, there is an amazingly large market. It's not a profitable market, but there's a large market for producers and for people out there looking for audio drama and radio plays. And yes, there's all sorts of material. There are people that are doing the westerns and the horror and the romance and all different types of things. And after I started up, that one project, several of the people have split off and are now doing other projects, doing other things, and it's just expanding. And if you look up audio dramas, you can find a lot of them out there.
Could you get it up on the big three?
I was putting them up onto iTunes and a number of other places because they're very similar to almost like podcasts where you're not necessarily charging for them. You could theoretically do that. And there are ways to be able to get yourself onto all of those other platforms. Audible, though, is kind of designed for the audio books. So they're not really designed for, the audio drama type thing.
Hey, Jonas, I muted you, Jackie, so that way someone else can ask a question. Angelin actually had a question. You want to ask Angelin? Ask Jonas?
I was interested in the part of your discussion where you were talking about exclusive versus non-exclusive contracts. Is
Yes.
there a limit to the exclusive contracts with the ACX distributor? Like a length of time that you can only publish to them and then later get your rights back and publish elsewhere?
That I'm not sure of. I'll be honest. That's a question that I can honestly say I don't know. Mm-hmm. I haven't really looked into that. I'm assuming there probably is some sort of, some out time where it'll finally say, okay, it will then be released after a certain amount of time. Mm-hmm. But I can honestly say I don't know. They have all of their information on their website. There's a big help section. And all of the steps that I provided are pretty much on. I just kind of copied them and brought them over and kind of rewrote them for this presentation. So you can see all the steps. And there are links directly to the exclusive and non-exclusive contracts. And I cannot... Yes, there's Audible/AXE. There's a customer help section that will allow you to get all the information on the exclusive and non-exclusive contracts. So I don't want to spend the time trying to search for it and dig it up. But yes, all that information is available on that website. It's a very, very good, it's an excellent site. And if you want to ask them, they respond real quick. So I would say just find it through that. I can't answer that, honestly. Sorry.
Okay, so Jonas, Dave has posed some questions. So Dave, you're unmuted if you want to ask him some questions. Your volume's not working. I apologize. Okay, so Dave has a question that says, I've done some research on getting books into the system easier and expanding reach of all books. I was told that in reality, audiobooks can drive an increase in all platforms. Is this what you're seeing in your practice?
Yes. Audiobooks are definitely a way to get you bigger and better visibility and to getting you to pretty much pump up everything. Because it's a smaller pool that you're competing against. So you have more of an opportunity to rise to the top and be noticed. So people are seeing your work more often. They're going to be potentially purchasing your work more often, which is then going to drive them to your personal website or to other places where they can buy the physical copy of the book, or come see more information about you, or just expand who you are in their eyes. So yes, this is actually a much easier way to get yourself into, yes, that system and get yourself recognized than just producing a book. You can get lost and fall through the cracks. This is one that you can actually really shine if you really want to.
Jonas, I have a question that would actually relate to Jim, because he does some young adult books, I guess, some paranormal. And I'm thinking about one voiceover for him about using young talent to do voiceovers, and two, the viability of doing audiobooks for a young adult or a teen audience. And Jim, I'm going to unmute you. Your books are primarily for what you would say around 8 to 13-year-olds?
The main characters are 13, so the range would be maybe 10 to 16 years old.
So thinking of that audience in mind, Jonas, do you have any advice?
Well, if you're looking for a younger voice, there are individuals and people that do have younger sounding voices. Not everyone has a very mature, grown-up voice. So if you're looking for that type of voice that will be more appealing to that audience, you can find those individuals, and there are plenty of them out there. And when it comes down to the audiobooks, there's a large percentage of younger people who do listen to audiobooks. And I don't necessarily have the stats, but I do know that, I can't really find that. But yes, you can find voices that are specifically developed into like these youthful voices that can tell the story the way you want it to.
So you don't actually have to use kids, because I know a lot of animation, whenever you're doing like animated cartoons, that a lot of the voices that you would think would be a child is actually an adult. So that was one of the things I was just trying to emphasize, is that you don't always have to use a kid to do your voiceover. You just have to have someone who has a versatility in your voices to be able to reflect old, young, and so forth, which is another thing. So whenever you're looking at voice talent, Jonas,
yes,
do you want a voice actor who can vary, or do you want a voice actor who only needs to stick to one voice? Or is that something that you and your producer or whoever does it is deciding on what the narrative of your story should be?
Well, that's going to be entirely up to you. Many of the narrators will change the sound of their voice to represent the different characters. And it may be a very subtle change. It might be a large change. There might be no change whatsoever. It's going to be up to you in those initial discussions with the potential narrators to say, but I would like for some of these characters, my main characters, to have a slightly different tone, a slightly different voice. And that's when you produce those pieces into that initial script that you're creating, that 2 to 3 page script. You want to create some of those and tell them, I want to have some additional voices so you can hear what they're going to sound like when it comes to those sections.
So
most of the times,
I'm sorry,
okay,
go ahead.
Yeah, most of the times you're going to have one narrator that reads throughout the entire book. You can, however, have multiple people reading, specifically reading those individual dialogue portions. Now, if you do that, you're going to be hiring on additional people. It is going to cost more, and there's going to be a lot more editing to that. But if you want to have individual voices for each one of your characters, let's say you have a female character, you want to have a female voice that comes into play. Whereas then you have, let's say, a very gruff, male character, and you want to have that. You can have different people play those characters, but you're going to be hiring on a much larger crew of people. It's going to get more expensive, but it can be done.
Sorry, I was reading chat.
No worries.
One of the other things, because I think we've done this at work on several times, because Jonas and I work on podcasts and videos on a frequent basis. In fact, this week we did. Some of the things that I kind of like adding into Angela just walked into the ocean. Some of the things that Jonas and I like to do with the podcast is I have a series called Conversation Starters, which is basically a podcast where we get about 2 or 3 people together, and they basically just have a conversation. It's kind of like you're sitting at a table and behind you, you're eavesdropping in on someone's conversation about a certain topic. And so we try to add some realistic noises to the mix and some music. So then that way it becomes a little bit more real, and you don't have that white noise necessarily that kind of makes voices monotone. Jonas, would you like to maybe address the issue? Because, I'm a big user of getting rid of white noise in the background, but I know at times it can be very cumbersome for the comprehension of a long dialogue, such as an audiobook.
Okay, if you're going to be using music and other types of audio behind what you're doing, that is going to be a separate set of pretty much copyright releases that you're going to have to get access to those songs. And there's a number of stock audio agencies that are out there that will provide you with anything from sound effects to music beds to environmental beds. If you think about, let's say, being in your characters are in a forest. If you want to enhance the sound of them being in a forest, you can add in some very gentle, some leaves that are kind of rustling, some walking through, some grass, maybe some birds and other things. You can have some of that as an audio background. You're going to have to go through a number of different sources. One that I use a lot is called Soniss, SONISS.com. It is a website that has a ton of royalty-free, purchasable audio samples. And on my one hard drive over here, I probably have about 4 to 5 terabytes of just audio samples that I've purchased over the years for miscellaneous projects. But you're going to want to look into that type of thing when it comes down to it. But you're going to be having several different layers of audio when you are looking at audio production of this nature. One of which is you're going to want to have some sort of environment. So where are they? What types of sound? If you're in a steam room, that's going to sound extremely different than if you're in a cafe, or if you're in a dance club, or you are in a cemetery. All of those are going to have different sounds that are going to be part of your background. And if you listen to yourself throughout the course of the day, where you are, well, not really right now, but when you can get back to that, you'll be able to hear the different sounds of your backgrounds. I'm on a train platform and I hear the different sounds that are coming through there. That's going to be one part of that audio background. A second part is going to be the actions. You're going to be showing through the use of audio. If people are walking, you're going to have things like footsteps. If somebody's going to be grabbing a pan and frying an egg, you're going to hear that pan and you're going to hear that egg and you're going to hear the sizzle. You're going to hear things like that. And then you're going to have sounds that are pretty much the non-sounds that enhance everything that's going on. This can be an audio bed, or this can be something as simple as the audio from the that helps create that tension, that feel. It doesn't have anything to do with what's actually going on, but it adds to what's happening, or an audio bed or a soundtrack behind it. All of those things can be added. And at that point, you're starting to get into a hybrid audiobook / audio drama, because audio dramas heavily rely upon those elements. So you're bringing the elements of the audio dramas over to your novel and the audiobook. And yes, all of that can be done. I'm not sure how many producers out there would do that and how much more it would cost. but it is an opportunity for people to do things like that. So yes, it can be done, and there are many, many options, and you can really enhance your audiobook through things like that.
Jackie, you're unmuted.
Oh, when you said that, you said earlier that it would probably cost an audiobook with a one narrator would cost about $250 per 10,000 words. Is
Right.
that actor, producer, whatever?
Yeah, that would be the
total
cost
thing.
of it. So yes, the math that's on there that Dave put on there would be about correct. Yes.
Okay.
That
I just wanted to be sure it was inclusive as opposed to piecemeal.
well, it's going to be. It really depends upon the producer. I'm just giving a pretty much an average. You can find narrators that are going to do it for cheaper. You're going to find narrators that are going to be charging like $1,000 an hour. It really depends on who you find and who you decide to use. So if you find that person that's $1,000, they probably have some really big titles under their belt and have one heck of a really good voice for doing this. And you may have some novice people who are willing to do it cheaper, but they don't have the experience. They're a novice at it. So I'm kind of giving you like a roundabout middle kind of cost for what it would generally be.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, this is just really an off question. I was late coming on board. Is this being recorded so I can catch up with what I missed?
Yes, it's being recorded, and Jonas should also hopefully provide us with his presentation or his notes that he's reading from. So that way you'll have all the links, which I've been trying to put in the chat. But as soon as we're done, this will be processed, and then I will post it on Facebook and on our website so that members can have it.
I will be taking my entire presentation that I have in a very big Word document, cleaning it up. I just kind of pasted a lot of the stuff from me, but I'm going to clean it up for all of you so you can have all the information in a single document with all of the links and everything else that you need, that I've talked about and have spoken about. So yes, I will be providing all of this in a written form.
Okay, so we're at the top of the hour, and the question is does anyone else have any more questions or more interest? Because Jonas can talk for hours on this. And if you're interested, then you need to raise your hand and start posting some questions. If not, then I'm going to thank Jonas and turn it back over to Jackie so that way we can wrap up the meeting and everyone can get back to writing since we're all quarantined. Anyone have any questions? Okay, Jackie, I'm unmuting, and Jonas, thank you.
Yes, and I just saw I would love to have a future presentation on radio plays if possible. I'd be more than happy to do a presentation and also allow you to listen to some of the stuff that I've done so you can kind of hear what the new radio plays are actually sounding like and how they kind of have this big new feel to them. So if you want to do that somewhere in the future, I'd be glad to do that for you guys.
Richard?
You're on mute, Jackie.
Richard has a question, and Richard has a question. Where is Richard? Can you unmute Richard? Richard? I don't hear you. Oh, I did not think ECX charge a fee. Did you read that?
I'm muted. Okay.
Can you? Yeah.
They, as far as I'm aware, they don't charge a fee. They just act as the middleman on all of this, and they're actually taking a percentage of the distribution. So if you're talking about the percentage that they're taking, yes, they do take the percentage for all the work and everything that they're doing in between, but they don't charge a fee for you to actually get the work done and to connect you with the narrators and to do all that. That's a direct contract between you and those narrators, the producers that you'll be dealing with through their system. But yes, they do take a percentage from the actual distribution itself.
Okay. Well, I want to thank Jonas. This has been, for me anyway, I don't know about the rest of you, absolutely fascinating and informative. And I'm thrilled to learn that there are actually people out there doing the Lone Ranger radio plays. It's something that I've always loved. Lynn, thank you for helping us out with this. Angela, and I very much want to know where you got your background so I can go there. Anybody else have anything? Please raise your hand or let Lynn know. Otherwise, let's get back to that typewriter. Thank you very much, Jonas.
Great, thank you. I'm glad to be here and glad to meet all of you for the first time.
Jonas, actually, before you leave, give your email address because Barbara is requesting it because I have a feeling you're going to be getting a lot of questions or maybe even some opportunities.
My email address is Stoltz, STOLTZ, at Statica, STATICA.com. That'd be the best way and easiest way to get a hold of me. I check that a couple times a day, and I will be glad to answer any questions that you may have or direct you to the place where you can get all the answers for yourself.
One other question before we end. I don't know what the plan is for May's meeting, so I guess we will be in touch. Isn't that right, Jackie?
Yes.
Because Dutch is feeling under the weather, and I don't think he's doing anything but sitting on the couch. So get well, Dutch, and thank you everyone for doing Zoom. And as I told Jim and via email, maybe we need to do a technology meeting if we can ever meet face-to-face again and teach all of our members how to use different aspects to video conferencing and
I think that's an excellent idea. I'm going to guess we're going to be Zooming again in May. I don't know how else to do that or to help the people who don't have microphones and cameras. So I thank everybody. Dee Price has a question.
Okay, Dee, go ahead and fire your question away. I'm gonna unmute you. Are you there? What? No. You're unmuted, Dee. If you can't speak, go ahead and put it in the question in the chat. We're not hearing you, so you must need to put it in chat.
I will be sending out an email. Jonas has promised us some wonderful written material. I'll make sure that you get that. We also need a link. Oh, thank you, Jonas. The anthology is currently in limbo. The anthology committee, as far as I know, is working on a solution. I heard from our chair, and she is working, the committee is going to be working on a solution. And I think, Jim, you also have some ideas.
Christy and I are going to come up with at least a kind of a checklist for people to look at and see how much we want to engage self-publication and what the ramifications of that are.
And I passed along a potential new publisher on the Jackie that we can investigate as well.
And I passed that on to Christy. So
okay.
If you take Writer's Digest, it's in the April issue. Larry, you have a question?
Got a comment. I know most of the promotion is done at our level. We go out there and do self-promoting. And I know there has been issues with Dark Oak. I can confirm Alan does his 2 radio broadcasts, the Fix It Up show and the Geek Tank. He still advertises the Malice books as of, I heard him advertise it 2 weeks ago when I caught him on the Fix It Up show. Now, I don't know the relationship we had with him. I don't know what any of the hangups were, but he does still promote it on the radio.
Which is a whole lot more than I've seen our current publisher, Dingbat, promote it. Angela, you have
So
something?
I'm saying that there was no promotion or marketing done at all with Dingbat Publications. So
Yeah, as far as I know, all they did was fix our commas and take our money.
no, she did a very good job with editing. There's just not been any marketing or promotion done.
Well, I'm urging all of you to promote it on your websites, promote it on Facebook, promote it on everything. This is how we make our money. This is how we get out there. This is how we get known. So, all right. Any other questions? Malice is not a 501(c)(3) at all. That is a lengthy process, and I believe that's one option that the Anthology Committee is considering. But I'm leaving it up to them, and if you have any input, what about grants? We are a not-for-profit, but we don't have the 501(c) nonprofit status. So I don't know what grants we would be eligible for.
Barbara, you can speak. I got you off mute.
Okay. We are actually a not-for-profit, which is totally different than the non-profit.
Which is what Qsource is. Qsource is a not-for-profit as well. And, and we're a multi-million-dollar company that does, contracts and all sorts of stuff. So I guarantee there's probably something out there. The question is that who amongst the group is going to be knowledgeable and give enough time in to do it?
I don't know anything about grants. I know nothing about grants. Anybody here
I don't either.
about grants? Dee, do you know something about grants?
What do we need a grant for?
And that's why I leave it on mute.
What's the
Someone
purpose?
said effects. Wonderful.
What's the purpose of the grant?
I think the idea was floating the idea that if we were a non-for-profit, we could apply for a grant to support the anthology.
There are a lot.
If we were going to like self-pay it and do our marketing ads and that kind of stuff. Is that what you're saying?
I don't understand what you would want it for, but I would think if you had grants, that's what you would do with it. Is use it for marketing and promotion and selling your book. Now I've bought ads on Facebook and they're $10. If you want to spend $10 promoting the Malice book, that would be very much appreciative. And I think I've done that twice. And I also promote it on Twitter, and I don't do Instagram because I don't understand it. And I promoted it on LinkedIn. There's so much in this world I don't understand. Dee says grants for self-publishing. Do you know any?
I have some Writer's Digest resource books that actually do list some funding opportunities like that. So let me go through and sort through it this week and see if there's anything, because I know that there's a lot of, there's like some colleges, and then there's actually like the state of Tennessee, they actually have an arts fund that they do. Lizzie, get out of my face. They actually fund production of literature. And there's some that they give like $30,000 grants to be able to promote and complete your book. So I can look into stuff like that for you.
That would be awesome. Dee, if you have any resources, could you send them on to Lynn? Anything else? If not, thank you, Jonas. Thank you, Lynn. I'll see everybody in May.